Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new Let's Play series in Hearts of Iron for the New Order as the little state of Guangdong down here in southern China. I did put a poll about what people wanted to see. I think the United States actually won the poll, but people are telling me that the American content's like really laggy. So maybe we'll play that in some time in the future. But other people were pointing out that, hey, if you want to play a good country, Guangdong down here in China, they have a lot. Some people said they had like the best content in the entire mod. So you know what? I think it'll be a fun time for us. I also did say that we were going to be taking a few months break off of the New Order. But after playing through the Germany campaign, I had a lot of fun playing Germany. And I just immediately was like, I need to play a little bit more New Order. So we're going to be doing a new series here. Let's just get our up to speed 5. And the corporate experiment. Carved out of the Republic of China as an independent state by the Japanese Fiat and the Kanto Protocols of 1950, the state of Guangdong is an experiment unlike any other in history. An artificial nation dedicated solely to corporate colonialism, where the Empire of Japan's other conquests in Asia, even its most artificial child, the Empire of Manchuria, pays lip service to the co-superiority sphere's vision of a Pan-Asianism. Guangdong stands alone in its devotion to the yuan under the whims of the four companies: Sony, Matsushita, Electric, Fujitsu, and Yasunda. Through the combination of neglect from Tokyo and reckless ambition from its tycoons, Guangdong has become a piece of this sphere where pretenses fall away in favor of naked greed and the pursuit of profit. But all is not well inside the world's only bastion of unchecked capitalism. The native Chinese population toils endlessly in the factories of three pearls of Guangdong: Koshu, Hong Kong, and Macau. These, while receiving none of the benefits of cruising the Japanese industrial and experts that oversee the corporate exclave. Between them, the Fujin, educated professionals and businessmen, fluent in Japanese but local to Guangdong, serve both the benefits for Guangdong's economic order, middle class decried as collaborators by the Chinese, and seen as useful proxies by the Japanese experts. Crime and corruption are widespread, with the triads and Yakuza vying for control over the web of vice that sprawls across Guangdong's underground. In defiance of the undermanned Guangdong police force and the uncaring Kapentai garrison, in Guangdong, crime is less of an aberration than a simple another means of doing business. A reciprocal relationship that favors done and debts owed. Internationally, Guangdong is afforded the trappings of a country with little else. China, holding fast to its pride, refused to accord Guangdong's representatives the equal treatment that they deserve. While Japan's attention has long since drifted away from its unnatural tributary, and Chukyo, the original Pan-Asian experiment, remains the crown jewel of the sphere, equally condescending towards China's poverty and Guangdong's corporate upstarts alike. Guangdong is a country without a nation, in either spirit or in form. As the chief executive Suki Taishi begins an uneasy mission to bring Guangdong's corporate back into Japan's dominion, the people and tycoons of Guangdong await. And they yearn for a future, a nation that could yet be theirs. So I will say, we're not going to read through... Actually, should I read through the companies as well? There's actually a lot of stuff here. You know what? If you're watching this series, you're here for the lore. And also me butchering Chinese and Japanese pronunciations. And just some English words as well. Chief Executive Suki Taichi's resume speaks for itself. A former general with experience in China, following by a cabinet position in the Tojo government, and seasoned House of Pearls since the House of Peers since 1943. When Prime Minister Aino Hoyo needed to bring Guangdong back in line with Tokyo, he could think of only one name to see it done. Suzuki's more hands-on and status approach to running the freewheeling Guangdong economy irritates the Legislative Council and the four companies, who are used to running Guangdong with little interference. But the culture of corruption in Guangdong, combined with the Yasuna's backing for Sukai, is enough to keep the tycoons in check. For the good of the Empire of Japan and the preservation of the co-superiority sphere, Suzuki Taichi enters 1962 preparing to lay the foundations for a stronger, more sustainable Guangdong, and to remind the corporates of their duty to the Empire. The Yasuna Zaibatsu enters the show at 33, riding high throughout the Japanese Empire, expanding in every direction possible. Its operation in the state of Guangdong, supervised by the representative director Matsuayi Takuji, since 1953, are no exception. Yasuna's preeminent position gives Matsuwaya wherewithal to play the long game. He's fully capable of lying down and tasting gall, as the ancient Chinese proverb says, until he comes out victorious. His position as the controller-chief of Yasuna interests in Guangdong means that he can't afford menacing to a degree that no other tycoon can, assert the power in itself. But knowledgeable observers look closely to the director's attitude and see that he is less enthusiastic about his position than he should be. For all the perks, Matsuwa feels that he has been somehow sidelined for one reason or another, and he's eager to find out why. So now we gotta go to the 4 lovely companies here. Sony is Guangdong's premier electronics firm, founded in 1954 as Morita Akkoi's second commercial venture after Tokyo Telecommunications. Before Fujitsu acquired the firm in 1952. With the home islands intolerant of failure, Morita remade himself in Guangdong alongside struggling factory owner Li Kai-shing, releasing the sphere's first non-Japanese transistor radio, the TR-56, in 1955, before becoming embroiled in a bitter trademark dispute over his former partner, Ibuki Masaru. Though Li has since founded his own firm, Cheng Kong Enterprises, Morita and Li have weathered every obstacle placed in her way, with Sony establishing its own factories in the City Council in 1960. Forever the outsider, Morita argues that the interest of the Sujin community and his Chinese laborers for those who give him the second lease of life, when Japan offered him nothing. The Matsuhita Electric Company is famed as one of the few independent electronic manufacturers in the home islands. So it's Matsuhita. Its founder rules the corporate as chairman for its headquarters in Osaka. In Guangdong, Matsuhita has adopted his son-in-law, has served as its operational head since 1961, expanding Matsuhita into the Chinese international markets for its regional office in Koshu. Matsuhita's position as the adopted heir to the conglomerate plagues him with insecurity and self-doubt, and his father, Konosuke, increasingly questions his worthiness to inherit the Matsuhita fortune with each passing year. The younger Matsuhita strives for all his strength to make Matsuhita the largest household electronic company in the cross-border sphere, with the view of building a little empire for his adoptive family in the Pearl River Delta. So we got Fujihito. Born shortly before the outbreak of the Second Sino-Japanese War, Fujiso Limited is one of the oldest IT companies in the world. Tied with Furukawa Zaibatsu, this pedigree, however, failed to translate into fame and fortune in the post-war era. That is until Ibuka Masaru came along. Sharp, erudite, and above all exceptionally bold, the upstart engineer is welcomed into Fuchu's exhibition of Tokyo Telecommunications in 1952. Despite the bitter estrangement from his friend and business partner, Morita Akkoi, Ibuchi's rise into Fujiso's ranks proved nothing short of stellar, becoming Fujiso's president in 1959. Now as he forms a fickle alliance with Matsuhita, Masaruhu, and rails against his companion-turned-rival Morita Akkoi, he has made a sole purpose above all out his vision, his dream to manifest Guangdong itself, a paradise of science, of reason, where every person deserves and only deserves their best. The scoundrels and the statesmen. Even a tycoon tussle over political influence, the power of the underworld is such that there are respectable interlocutors. Stanley Ho for the tryouts and Yoko Haidikai for the Yakuza are influential as their beleaguered commissioner of police who relied on the combatized colonial Miyazaki Kiyotaka to assist the police in intelligence duties. From beyond Guangdong's borders, the Empire of Japan sends it to its entrance in Guangdong via General Nago Shigeto and Council General Takashima Maisho, representing the military and civilian branches of the Japanese government. For the Republic of China, the last of Guangdong in 1950 still smarts. Council General Song Jingguang, a native of Guangdong, offers his begrudging assistance to the corporate state, assisted by senior political attaché Wang Jingshu, a representative from the Chinese military with far less patience than Song. Okay, excellent. So, I apologize for my, let's just say, not great pronunciations. Research slot. What do we want to take? Great questions. What year is it? We can take you. You'll be, I guess we'll just go 1, 2, and then let's go with population. That sounds great. We have 15 production units, so we are significantly poorer than we were when we played as Germany, which I guess really should not be a major surprise for us. Okay, let's get these guys going. No, I don't want you there. Something like that seems fine. I believe. That should be okay. Okay, custom difficulties, we're going to say no. Actually, we're going to log it down. Here you can find extra settings to make your game on the Silicon Delta either harder or easier. where this category will disappear after the first week. Thereafter, the change laid out in the settings will take place. Okay, I don't think we need to, well, okay, let's just take a look. Like, what are these? Enable lower growth expectations, enable easier riots. We're just gonna say no to all that. We don't need to make the game easier. We'll be golden, I'm sure. So what do we have? We have terrible schools, we have terrible army bases, we have terrible prisons. We have really good office coverage, which I guess should make sense. So you know what we're gonna do? Let's build one school in Koshu here. That probably is our entire civilian construction done, right? Yeah, we have 6 factories there. The Delegation Council is not in session. So we have Sony, we have Machuita, Fusho, Usanda, and Suzukai. Legislation history, police augment accordance, labor rehabilitation, contract arbitration. Okay. So, I mean, right now, it's not in session. We don't need to worry about that quite yet. What's our national spirits? Negative 20% stability, negative 20% war support. Cannot train, disband, or edit units. Excellent. Probably because we are both basically a Japanese puppet state and still very Chinese. We've got a culture of corruption. Corruption gain goes up. Our GDP gets worse every single time, and China hates us. Government support is terrible. Police state control is terrible. But basically, everything's ass. Like, everything's actually pretty bad for us. How's our economy looking? Debt to GDP ratio 15%. I mean, that's pretty good. We are a corporate oligarchy, 1.19% inflation, GDP of 21 million. Yearly deficit is not so bad. You know what? Let's create at least a little bit of money. Let's go like 3%. Seems okay. What's poverty rate, by the way? Poverty rate is at 67%. Holy hell. Okay. Pretty not great. I guess we'll make 2 more on rifle production. We're not going to worry about that too much. And for you, this basically seems fine. If anything, I actually want to, let's see if we can take 2 off of military production. We don't need to be building military stuff. If we're in a war, we're basically just going to rely on Japan to handle all of that. Yeah, we're not playing as a major power. So, you know, we're not playing Germany, we're not playing Japan, we're not playing the United States. Bang! At the center of the gavel stood Kanda Taihusi, 53 years old, Chief Marketing Officer of Yamashita Chemicals Limited. With his unusual booming yet soothing voice, he delivered the contents of a stack of paper in hand onto the rest of the complex. He talked the skyrocketing numbers of shining furnaces of today lying in the Kuwel riverside, and surely indispensable patronage from of Morito Akoi that brought them back teeming with life indeed. He smiled. His mind back to yesterday's creative shipments landing on the doorstep. Bang! Up stood Abana Yoko, 46 years old, Vice President of the Collective Tomorrow Enterprises. He smirked and applauded the Maravis as stunned by the infamous Sony Yesman speaking before him. He then preached derelict storefronts littering Hong Kong's outskirts and the hazard of Guangdong's over-reliance on industries of little concern. His voice was calm, monotone, yet every passing minute another dagger pierced the veil. He was fighting the good fight, of course he was. Secure 1 more plot of land in Kulon for Fichui, and yet, there yet was a lay left forward towards promotion. Bang! Kawasaki Kechi, 61 years old, representative director of Akai Finance, sat unmoving, his corpulent, stony complexion barely betrayed a grin blossoming underneath. It was he who brought up the slip of land to the Legion Council in the first place. His contacts in Matsuicha have instructed him so. Let the 2 little rivals shout at each other into a gridlock, then he and his friends shall move in and take the spoils. Nobody will know. Not today. Bang, bang, bang! 100 suits, black and white and blue, rose to their feet in perfect unison. With this, we fill our service to the chief executive to the state of Guangdong, and may our prosperity reign for 1,000 years more, they chanted. Then came the scattering tango of heels on the marble floor, and yet another day of good cooperation was thus called, and then the chief executive shall do well to serve them. Okay. Excellent. So basically, all the 4 corporations, they do not like each other, which, I mean, isn't really too much of a surprise. By the way, who's in our faction? I mean, we've got a pretty good-looking faction going on right now. I think things are looking pretty nice for us. Because you're owned directly by Japan, you're Guangxi, you're Guizhou. Of course, up here we've got the ROC. Did I not take this? Yeah, give me my Army Navy experience. Not that it'll probably matter too much. Okay, the Hawaii missile crisis has been resolved. In a company dorm somewhere in Guangdong, a shift of Chinese workers enjoyed a merciful day off of work. In a miraculous development, the machines over which the workers were forced to slave for hours each day had broken down and were out of commission for the day. The workers split into two teams and kicked a makeshift ball around the courtyard. Many Westerners might recognize that they were playing as a version of football, but it was known to them by the Japanese name of Shukyu. As the game ended, one team drubbed the other 5-1. They broke up into their various cliques and sat down in the various aluminum stairs that led to the courtyard. While there, the discussions went along as usual. The families they left behind, or in some helpless cases were forcibly separated from. Many of them wanted to head out to see a movie, but none of them had the passes that they might need to leave the dormitories, and it was not technically a scheduled day off. Even if they did, the guards wouldn't let them leave, not until they demonstrated proof of renting the place elsewhere. And when the hell was that happen? The workers contemplated their situation. Life in Guangdong was unquestionably a vale of tears, filled with mourning and weeping, though of course the workers were far more coarser about it if one asked them. But it could be worse. They knew that well. They could be in China, where their compatriots were all poor, miserable, utterly bereft of hope. At least here in Guangdong, the workers could dare to dream that they might be beyond the gates. Unlike in China, where the atmosphere was misery, misery, misery for miles around. Yes, we're getting a lot of little events here. Basically, they're just setting up the scene. They're like, hey, shit sucks. Could be worse. And I'm pretty certain. I guess we'll go strategic theorem. I've got a feeling, though, things almost certainly are going to get worse before they get better. Here's the thing, they might actually never get better. It might just be like shit from here on out. Okay, so Germany has won the space race. That's fine. Germany, if you want to go playing around in space, you do you, man. In the smog-ridden atmosphere of the industrial district of Hong Kong, once known as Hong Kong, so the British colonizer that preceded the colonial regime, the Guangdong police officer stopped someone that was suspected of shoplifting, or so he said. Everyone and their mother-in-law knew that shoplifting cases didn't occur remotely as often as the diligent police officers claimed they were. No, even a child would tell you that this was an unsubtle attempt to shake down somebody for a bribe. The young Chinese boy that the officer had chosen to pick on protested violently, but the officer, himself a Shujin, threatened him in Cantonese to call on his Japanese superior. The boy would have resisted had he not seen a Kempentai car rolling around the corner. The boy cursed violently and paid the bribe, which amounted to his wages for the day. At that, the officer, satisfied, let him go. The boy continued swearing under his breath as the reality of another night without food sunk in. The officer, on the other hand, began to rationalize his actions, as he always did when he did something like this. He wasn't paid enough, he said, and that's why he did it. He had to provide for his family, even if that meant the others had to foot the bill. Law of the jungle or whatever. It was what that scientist Carl Sidney said. The strong take from the weak. But his conscience kept on tormenting him. Yeah, again, it's just more events that are kind of, I guess we'll go Green Water Navy? Wait. Our Navy I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're not going to be making a Navy. Let's just put it that way. We have no boats. We have no planes. I'm sure our army is probably complete ass. Yeah, I mean, they're all just police units. So they're not actually very good. So, like, what do we have? We have one tank, I think. So you've got, like, one decent division and then a lot of garbage light infantry. What are they ever going to be used for? I don't really know, because I'm trying to remember back to our Germany campaign we just played. I mean, there was, like, an uprising, like, around here. I think it's the NRA 42nd Army or something like that, which rose up. But I don't know if we're going to be involved in that in any meaningful way. It was a cloudy day in Macau, but Lam Ho Fai was feeling happy. A Zhujian officer clerk with the record keeper office in Macau was up for promotion after spending the requisite amount of time in the civil service. He thought about what you get with that money for that came from. Better quality food from better hawkers maybe. Instead of 20 or 30 yen snacks, one got from the rank and file ones. Perhaps a visit or two to a cheap restaurant. Electronics perhaps? I heard that Sony lot was coming up with cheap radios again. Maybe I could buy one to keep me amused at work. I'm sure my girlfriend would love something from Machute or even Fujiso. But then Lam thought about it and realized that his real focus should be on. No, that's all irrelevant. I can wait. What I need is a better place to live for me and my girlfriend. But as the clouds turned dark and rain began to pour down, his boss called him in, introduced him to the new graduate from the home islands, his new superior, the one promoted instead of him to the position of colonial administrator. It took all of Lam's strength not to be passive-aggressive or start hurling insults. Lam's hopes had all been crushed. Dejected, he went out to lunch feeling that the world went gray. Again, it's everything. Everything sucks. Okay. We unlocked the recent Guangdong GUI in the Decisions tab. We'll go with the 1962 Tokyo meetings. The region of Guangdong. Okay, so we have Chosu, Shokan, Chokai, Koshu, okay, Koshu and Choshu, Hong Kong, Macau, and Momai. They're okay, so everybody's growing some influence. Click the state to see more actions. Interact with Triad, interact with the Yakuza, interact with the Kementai, interact with the police. So you're the hybrid culture. So let's go with... Oh, guys, these are who's in charge here. Kementai. The Yakuza have control here. The Triads have control here. And the police have control here. Okay, you're very Chinese. Hong Kong is a little bit more mixed. Macau, even more mixed. Click on a status. I guess we don't have any actions right yet. Oh, so I click on you, and then I click on a group. Yakuza, the Triads. Raid Triad storage, we can bribe them. So what's the problem here? I think we need to reinforce. We need to actually bring down the Yakuza. We cannot radio. So what can we do with the police here? You know, let's modernize the police, maybe? Or we can build police boxes. We spend increase police control by 1.75%. Let's do the cheaper option first, just so we can, like, press a button. I think that's always a little bit fun. Overlooking the Pearl River. A faint ray of sunlight broke through the gray smog, wafting over the factories on the Pearl River, casting a shaft of natural light onto Sukai Tachai's office. The chic executive, welcoming the distraction, following the beam into the office floors and ceiling windows, surveying the city of Koshu, formerly Guangzhou, as he lit his third cigarette that morning. The teeming Chinese masses rushed through the cityscape canyons while ignoring the signals of Guangdong police. Their clamor kept distant as Kementai checkpoints. The Kementai sergeant bowed as the gleaming black Toyota Crown exited the government complex, ferrying one of the Koshu Japanese notables back to the Japanese settlement. Beneath his feet, Tsuki felt a faint rumble through the floor, the energy of the army of Cantonese Japanese civil servants rolling away under Japanese supervision. Yet nobody here, Zuki missed, served Japan. It was no surprise. Years of disinterest from Tokyo had led the tycoons, the four companies Sony, Matsushita, Fujitsu, and Yusanda. I don't know why I'm putting an end in there. Yasuda, as well as the outsider Shen Kong, drink deep and greedy. Through them, the Chinese were tied to their meager wages. The Canado-Japanese chased futile dreams, and the Japanese were wedded in handsome dividends. Suke stubbed out a cigarette, turning back to the mountain of charts littering his desk. The challenge to bring Guangdong back into the Japanese fold loomed even higher, but to Suzuki, the artifact of Japanese wartime economy, it was just one more puzzle to solve. But I think with that, our little introduction here, we're almost, let's actually just wait one more day. So we're in February. We can say we passed 1 month. Oh, who's the designated sphere? Spear is the successor here. Okay. Anyways, I think with that, this will be a good time for us to end off this first episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. If you not enjoyed, click something down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.